Yay, we're
You
here.
are very squealy today, Kristi.
Sorry. I will be so excited, but I'm so excited because it's Kim's book.
Yeah.
We are so excited to bring you this live with Kimberly Duffy and celebrate the release of A Tapestry of Light.
I have mine too.
Everybody hold it up. Yay!
So pretty.
It
It's
is
so pretty.
It matches my walls. I like that.
That's why they did it.
Oh, totally. I know they did it all for me, Kim. I know that this book was really for me. I did read it in an early edition, so I know exactly.
Yep.
We already have some people coming in and saying hello.
Oh, there's our friend
Hello.
Leslie.
There's our friend Leslie. No, waves. So
Hi,
you've already
Courtney.
got some people watching.
Yay!
Yes.
Well, we have the biggest night that I think Kristi and I have ever put together ready for you. And really, to give credit where credit is due, not only does Kim write great books, she has really good ideas. And she came to us.
And she has a lot of friends.
I always feel like I'm going to like fall off the screen with StreamYard when it's like in this configuration. But Kim came to us a long time ago and she said, I would love to celebrate my book release with some other women who also have written books about fashion and unconventional heroines and strong faith messages. So we are so excited that we have so many people who are going to be popping in with us tonight to celebrate the release of A Tapestry.
Yes.
And if you don't know who Kimberly Duffy is, well, number one, we don't know how you got here. But
It's me. I'm Kimberly Duffy.
Yes, Kimberly Duffy.
I'm Lindsay P. Brackett. I'll be your host for this evening. My co-host is Kristi Ann Hunter, and she's going to go away in just a little while because she's the genius behind all the great graphics that you're going to see popping up all over the screen. And we are going to welcome in one by one for the next hour or so some fantastic writer friends to talk about Kim's book, their books, and to celebrate this beautiful story. And we just could not be more proud of you, Kim. I feel like a mother.
Thank you.
Just want to
Thank
go.
you. And you guys, like, I could not have pulled this off without Lindsay and Kristi. So thank them when you get a chance because they do the best parties.
All right. So
Sure.
y'all have fun. I'm going to be the magic snarky wizard in the background.
Don't be too
Hi,
snide.
Kristi.
All right. So couple of like housekeeping things. First of all, if you are here, we absolutely want you to comment, but do know that there is a little bit of a delay. It's teeny tiny, but because of that delay, Kim and I can't see you commenting in real life, but Kristi's going to let us know you're there and she will possibly throw your comment up on the screen or give us up. Lucy got her copy yesterday.
Yay.
I'm sorry, Lucy, that you will not be sleeping much tonight.
Keep your tissues handy.
Yes, keep your tissues handy. But we do want you to comment and let us know you're here. But most importantly, as we converse tonight as I talk with Kim about the book, and as we talk with all these wonderful guests, we want you to participate. We're going to ask you some questions. We want to hear your answers. We want to hear your thoughts, because every time you comment, you are entered to win. And Kim, do you want to tell them what you're giving away?
Yes, I'm giving away a lot of books. So, yeah, I will be giving away a copy of my first book, A Mosaic of Wings. And then each of our guests, I'll be giving away one of their books. So you can actually see on the screen. That's like super handy, Kristi. Thank you.
It's very cool.
The Paris Dressmaker, Dress Shop in King Street, Seamstress, Lace Maker, and Storing Up Trouble. They're all fun books.
They are. They are all wonderful, fun books. And they are so unique, just like the personalities of the writers that we're going to bring in with us tonight. So much fun. All right. Right before we bring in our first guest, Kim, is there anything that you think I've left out? I don't think so. Comment to win, giving away lots of books. You can find Kim's books at Baker Book House, where they are 30% off right now. So Baker Book House is where you are going.
Yeah, they're not doing free shipping right now, though, so you'll have to buy $50 worth of books. But I don't think that's a problem. I think that you can do that really easily.
I mean, if you need a list, we'll make you one. Don't worry, not a problem. Gotcha. We are here for you. Baker Book House, 30% off. All right,
we love Baker.
Tonight, we are so excited to welcome to our studio Kristy Cambron, the author of The Paris Dressmaker. There she is.
Hi, Kristi.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So I have to tell y'all, it occurred to me today when I was making a little list of things to talk about that I met you both in person at the same ACFW conference.
Yeah, you did.
And I think I really don't know what year it was.
When was that? Please refresh.
It was Nashville, Kristi, but it was not the most recent Nashville.
Okay.
It was the one before that. So maybe it was 2016 or 2017.
Okay. My mind has gone back a little bit like a decade here. So I'm thinking back over all the conferences.
The same one I met Kristi at too.
Oh, well, there you go. It was a really good conference. Well, that was a good conference. I saw Kristi in the lobby and introduced myself, and I do not at all expect you to remember me because I have a good friend who loves your books, and she always gushes about them. And I was like, Kristy Cambron, I know who that is. But Kim and I knew each other from before, from Splickety Publishing, but that was the first conference where we got to hang out in person, and your baby was little. It was, I cannot believe that it was a long time ago, but it occurred to me today that I met you both like in the same weekend, person to person.
Yep. So. That's fun.
I remember meeting you and I was a little in awe because I felt like, there's all these books on your roster. And I just was like, can I just listen to you? Can you just tell me all about publishing and I'll just absorb everything. So I do remember that.
I think that was me, maybe. Sometimes I sound like I know more than I do. But anyway, all right. So we are going to talk tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the Paris dressmaker. We're going to talk about A Tapestry of Light. But what I want to talk about first, Kim, is I want to talk about Kristi's role in your publishing journey.
Yeah. Because
I know that she has been a really big influence on you. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there would be no historical fiction by Kimberly Duffy without Kristy Cambron. So I had gone on ACFW. I don't know if they still do this, but they were doing this like fundraiser where you bid on things. And I saw that Kristy was having like a Zoom chat with someone. So I'm like, that's amazing. I'm going to bid on that. Right. And so I won that. I was so excited. And we were talking, and Kristi is the one who suggested that I write historical fiction. She's like, I think you're a historical fiction writer. I'm like, I am. I think I am too. So before that, I'd been writing contemporary romance and going nowhere fast with it. So she also suggested that I send Nora in A Mosaic of Wings to someplace interesting. Like Nora was going to be staying, it was actually set in Ohio, and she was like a beekeeper. It was a completely different book.
And we love you, but Ohio is not that interesting.
No, I know. I've heard that over and over again.
I grew up in Ohio, and I think what you have in India, Ohio, we love you, Ohio. I grew up there, but we love India too, the way you've done it in this book.
And Nora really loves India. So she played a huge role in my path to publishing. She hooked me up with my first agent, which was super cool. And she's just been such a source of encouragement and advice. I love her.
I love this story because I love how more seasoned authors give to those of us who are still new to the industry. And it's such a beautiful thing, So Kristi, tell us a little bit about Paris Dressmaker before we talk about Tapestry.
Yeah, the Paris Dressmaker. And here's what I love about having these two books side by side. I'm going to try to get them both in the camera side by side, is because they are about women. They are about women in history and the sometimes difficult choices that women have to make. Yes, it's fashion. And we have, look at these covers. Beautiful dresses, right? We have the fashion. We have something that is so feminine and so beautiful, but you've got this juxtaposition that's right up against things like war or things like prejudice, things like racism, crossing cultures, and how the women handled it. And it's really inspiring and beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. And in the Paris Dressmaker, I wanted to write about the women who were in the fashion industry, but at the same time, you've got beauty that's heading up against the kind of background, the rubble of war, and that decisions for them are you going to fight for the resistance and you don't know what the outcome of this is going to be? And what are some of those decisions? There are all of these shades of gray. And so I wanted to highlight women like Rose Valland or like Josephine Baker, the names that you hear from history of women who fought with the resistance, but also everyday women that were on the streets of Paris that maybe didn't have a voice. And I wanted to write that. So we've got the bookends from 1940 to 1944. So we've got the bookends of Nazi occupation in Paris and how did women survive that in the fashion world.
So cool.
I know. It sounds amazing. I think I'm going to be spending $50 at the Baker Book House at the end of the night.
I know. I heard that and I was like, $50? We can do that without blinking.
So lots of people are speaking to Kristi in the comments, letting her know how much they love your books.
Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm going to keep looking at the camera because if I look at the comments, I'll miss it. But thank you, everybody.
Looking at it too.
You'll get distracted. You'll get distracted. Lots of people dropping lots of really nice comments for us. What I love, Kristi, is how you brought up that these are kind of, you wanted to highlight everyday women who are dealing with difficult struggles. And I think that is so much what Kim does in A Tapestry of Light. You've got this woman, you've got Adelie, who, you know, we meet her first in India, and we meet her under not wonderful circumstances, but for her country and for that time period, she was just an ordinary woman. And then she moves to England, and she has to, you know, she's trying so hard to fit into this new culture, and she didn't fit into her culture in India to begin with because, Kim, do you want to give a little bit of Adelie's background, like the 2-second, what her,
Sure. Adelie is an Anglo-Indian. In the 19th century, they were called Eurasians. So they were from English and Indian background. When the British came, men came, and they would marry Indian women. And so that's their background, which it evolved into a really vibrant, unique culture.
But unfortunately, a culture that felt like they didn't belong to India. They don't belong to England. You know, they kind of had to form their own culture. And she was really struggling to find her place and to figure out where she belongs. And that is not a light, easy, ordinary struggle. I think we can all relate on some level to wanting to know where we belong. But so many of us can look around and see people who look like us and automatically belong to a place. And Adelie doesn't really have that advantage. And I love how you bring her to light, and you bring that struggle to light with such a beautiful, strong voice.
Can I mention something on that? Because I have dog-eared pages, and I have some things. And so no spoilers. But for those of you who are reading, and those of you who are going to stay up all night reading tonight, look at page 60. Look at page 60 because what Kim does is so beautiful.
What did I do?
I mean, there's this scene that for me, it was heartbreaking because it's exactly what you're talking about. And her name is Adelie. Am I saying that correct?
Yep.
The moment Adelie and Thaddeus got home, she headed toward the back room where they slept and removed a sari from the cabinet. Not the white one of mourning, but her favorite green silk. A paisley pattern shot through the gold threads embellished the rich color. And here's what happens. You get Adelie discarding the clothing of England, but at the same time, it's exactly what you all were talking about. And it struck me so strongly that she's like, I'm both, but am I neither? And where does that put me? And what does that make me? And Kim does this beautiful, you get this throughout the whole book, like these gorgeous descriptions, but they're going to hit you later, and you're going to keep thinking about that. So that was one of the sections that I dog-eared. I hope it's okay that I do that to books, but I do. I love them. So
I support that.
I do too.
I learned about book darts recently. Do you know about these little, oh my goodness, they're these little tiny paper clips, but they're made specifically for books, and they're like arrow shaped, so you can stick it in there. They're perfect. They're perfect for not dog-earing. I love what Renee is saying here. I love stories of women who struggle with finding their place in the world.
I do too.
Those are my favorite kinds.
I think that's such a theme for all of us. Right? I feel like so many women struggle to find their place in the world.
Yeah.
Yes. So we asked each of our guests to come up with a question to not only ask Kim, but also to ask the audience, because we want to hear what your thoughts are on this as well as Kim's thoughts. And while before I ask it, I also want to say, if you have some friends that you think would really enjoy this conversation, please tag them in the comments and have them join in the fun. That way everybody knows where to find us. So Kristi said it's National Women's Month. March is National Women's Month. How do your new novels highlight the contributions of women throughout history? So while Kim is forming an answer, I want those of you who are watching, I want you to drop maybe a book title for us in the comments, a book you would love to recommend to other people about strong women and women's contributions to history. I know the book I keep recommending over and over again is also a World War II book. It's Codename Helene, about the female spies by Ariel Lahone. And I just read The Alice Network, also same kind of vein. So Kim, how do you think that your novels highlight the contributions of women throughout history?
So in a lot of my books, I actually write real people into them. And I write people who most people haven't heard of. I think they're fascinating, right? So we all know like the big names, right? Like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and all those like life-changing feminists who like got the vote for women. But I love the stories of the women who are maybe a little bit under the radar. And so in A Mosaic of Wings, I had Anna Comstock, who started the nature study movement. And then in my third book, I have Candida Ramabai, who is one of India's first feminists. I don't have any real people in A Tapestry of Light, but I love writing stories of women, whether they're real or not. I love writing stories of just everyday women who change the world, because I feel like that's all of us. Like we can all do that. And we sometimes think like, what can I do to change the world? I don't have a huge platform. I don't have this great like talent. Like I don't have a lot of attention, but we can all make changes to the world around us in little ways that end up echoing forever.
I love that. They end up echoing forever. So Kristi, tell us about your heroine in The Paris Dressmaker.
We have two heroines. One is Lila, and Lila actually at the beginning of the war, she works for the Chanel house. And so she's a dressmaker, but as we know, war steps in 1939 and Chanel closes their doors and a lot of the fashion workers were put out of work. But then as the war goes on, you have the darkening of the Nazis coming in and occupying the city in the summer of 1940. And then you have rations, you have this, I mean, imagine living right amongst your enemy. And then our other main character, Sandrine, she has an education. So she has this background in the arts, the art world in Paris. And she's actually forced to work for the Nazis at the Louvre Museum Complex and the Jeux de Paume Museum, where they stole all of the art, mainly from the Jewish families. You know, you think about all of these collections of art that were stolen, and what they were doing was they were taking it to build the Führer Museum, you know, later down the road. And Hitler wanted this Führer Museum, this grand building that was in Austria. And so she's forced to work for the Nazis, but at the same time, right under their noses, with this incredible real life woman named Rose Valland. Please go Google her name, Rose Valland. She was a small character placement in Monuments Men, the 2014 movie, but she really is an incredible person. I think to this day, the still most highly decorated civilian woman in France's history. I could be wrong about that, but Google it and you'll find out. But so my characters, Lila and Sandrine, both of them are working, flying under the radar and making clothes for and dressing the Nazis at the same time. They're looking at this kind of juxtaposition between like what do I do? You know, what are some of the decisions that I have to make? And so they're flying under the radar in both worlds, fighting for the resistance at the same time they're trying not to get caught during these 4-year span.
Oh my goodness.
So cool.
Yeah. It's a little intense.
I love how you tie those together, how you tie all those stories together. I don't know if I can manage all those different stories, but you do it so well.
She does. Kristi's going to throw up some book suggestions people have dropped in the comments for us as well. But I kind of wanted to piggyback on Kristi's story about the women in her book and mention that one of the things Adelie does in Kim's book is and Kim's going to tell us all about this in just a little while. She specializes in beetle wing embroidery and so she's making clothes. She's embellishing clothing. And not necessarily, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call the English people her enemy, but they had not embraced her. She certainly wasn't considered to be part of their community, of their culture. They definitely looked down on her. And so I think it's really interesting that all throughout history, you have women in these positions of servitude or just of a lower class than other positions. And it's so interesting how, despite that, they are able to do things that change history. So never think that just because you are an ordinary mom at home on a Tuesday night, you are not changing history.
Well, you're changing history anyway with your children. God knows what they're going to do. I have no doubt that my children are going to go off and do much more amazing things than I will ever accomplish.
I have no doubt about that either.
And my book pick, I wanted to toss my book pick out really quickly. It's Becoming Mrs. Lewis by Patty Callahan. It's one of the books on Joy Davidman and C.S. Lewis. And that book I got to read an early copy before publication. And I was a little obsessed with how awesome and inspiring it was. So that's my book pick for an inspiring woman of history.
That's a fantastic choice. Patty had a book just come out actually last week too. So she's
Titanic, right? Or it's like the Titanic of the South, right?
Surviving Savannah. Yes, my copy has not come yet. All right. Well, we are going to be wrapping things up here with Kristi. It was such a delight to have you join us.
Thank you, Kristi.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right. Well, before we bring in our next guest, we've got Elizabeth Camden. She has the cover envy. Kim, what do you say about your covers?
I mean, I've been really blessed by Bethany House. They do amazing covers. And the designer who does my covers, I think she just gets my stories. I actually requested, after she did my first cover, I asked my editor if I could have the same designer for all my covers because she's amazing.
She is amazing.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen my third book, Every Word Unsaid, I just did the cover reveal last week and it is beautiful. It is such a pretty cover.
I think it's my favorite. Every Word.
I think it's my favorite too, and I like all of them, but I think
it's also my favorite book. But we're going to talk about Every Word Unsaid in October when it comes out, nonstop.
November.
Oh, November. Okay. All right. And because people always ask, so I want to go ahead and circumvent that question. No, Kim does not get to design her cover herself. She does have a designer through Bethany.
Thank God.
I know. We're so great.
It would not be pretty. Yeah. Every time I have to get on Canva, I'm like pulling my hair out.
All right. Well, we are ready for our next guest. So excited to welcome Allison Pittman.
Hey.
Hey, Allison. So Allison, like myself, because I actually substituted today, has spent the day with some middle school students.
I have, yeah.
But she's putting on her author hat for us tonight. And we are going to talk about one of Allison's many, many books, which is The Seamstress. And it takes place in the Revolutionary War period. Am I correct about that?
French Revolution. Yeah.
French, not the. I think I've done that now 3 times, and every time Kim corrects me. I just see the red, white, and blue, and that's right.
America, France. What are you going to do? Yeah.
What's the difference?
It's true. Well, before we get started chatting with Allison, a little background on Allison. Before we started the show tonight, Kim had her teenage daughter come by and say hello to Allison because Allison also had another book come out recently called Pledge and Prejudice, and it is an 80s YA retelling of Pride and Prejudice. And you guys, if you have teenage daughters, if you love Pride and Prejudice, if you love the 80s, if you like good writing, you want to pick that one up as well as The Seamstress. Again, helping you get to the $50 for Baker Bookhouse. We're just...
And also, Ellie, she's 16, but The Seamstress was her favorite book from the year it came out. Like and she reads a lot of people. She's like 60 books a year. It was her favorite book for the whole year. She loved that book.
Oh, thank you.
So she was a little bit like, Mom, you're so cool. Thanks, guys, for making me look cool. And I also wanted to mention, Jenny Snow said that Amy Carmichael was a huge inspiration to her. Amy Carmichael was a huge inspiration to me growing up in high school. I read all her books. And I just wanted to mention that. I just loved her.
Listen, I love that she says, although that was nonfiction. Nonfiction.
That's okay.
All
we have room for it.
We're here for all the things tonight. Oh, people love Pride and Prejudice, of course, or Pudge and Prejudice. I love it. Hey, Ashley. Ashley's going to be in.
Hi, Ashley.
Yeah. Yeah, we're so excited about having her. So another quick little thing to know about Allison is that Allison and I get to hang out together in a different space on the internet called Her Novel Collective. And you can find us on Facebook. You just have to search Her Novel Collective. And weekly we do takeovers with writers. In fact, I think I'm hosting next week. And Kimberly Duffy, I plan to have you on. So we need to chat about that later.
All right, we'll talk.
We'll talk. But if you're not a member of Her Novel Collective, come over there and join the fun. It's a really great group of authors, and I've enjoyed getting to know Allison a little bit better over the last few months as we do that. All right. So we're kind of going backwards in time. We started with World War II and the Paris dressmaker, Kristy Cambron. And then we kind of moved right past the period of A Tapestry of Light, which is 1890s, correct? And then now we're going all the way back to the French Revolution. All right. So let's talk about the evolution of French fashion. Can we talk about that for a second? It's vastly different, I would think, correct?
Got like 4 minutes? Okay.
Come on, Allison, 4 minutes. You can do it. Believe in you.
Well, talk fast.
I don't know how much this is the evolution of French fashion, but I did want to kind of throw out there, you were talking about how, women can be just so defined and everything by what they wear. And Marie Antoinette, who I got to fictionalize her in Seamstress, she was just a fashion icon. And what I thought was so interesting with her is she loved to wear big ornate things, but she also liked to wear these kind of simple peasant shepherdess gowns. And then everybody thought, "Ugh, you're a queen, you can't be wearing these horrible simple gowns, you have to dress like a queen." And then once they lopped her head off, the whole fashion thing was to wear these simple peasant gowns like she used to wear all the time. But there was a lot of just that identifying of person and space through fashion. Yeah,
I love that. I love that you talk about how so often women can be defined by what they wear. So I think we have seen that, and I know it continues today. It's just not in my realm, I don't think. But
it's always sending those little signals. And I have to say, okay, so like Kim, do you create your own looks and your own style? Because you always look so effortlessly cool.
Thanks.
And if you travel with the girl, she will like dress you before you're allowed out the door.
Because I am just like a product of JCPenney. Like that is my entire
has
life.
Some great clothes. I have stuff from JCPenney.
Well, it's like Garanimals for grown-ups, right? Because they put everything together, so you know what goes with what. But that's what I think is just so unique about you. You have a gorgeous sense of style, and that has to be said out loud. And I had to say how much I envy that.
I have loved watching Kim evolve online from the well-dressed writer to owning her name. Author Kimberly Duffy, but you have a wonderful sense of style, and it comes out in your stories because the way you describe the clothing that Audley makes, the books you yourself are drawn to, like Allison's stories, like Kristy's, they're gorgeous and lush, and the attention to detail is always there. Beautiful attention to detail. So.
Oh, I've always loved clothing, and I spent a lot of time in my early 30s trying to define what my personal style was, and then I discovered J. Crew, and I realized it's all done for me. There it is right there.
J. Crew, I love that.
I don't have to struggle anymore. There's J. Crew.
Meanwhile, there's Lindsay, who in the book I just read recently, it's the Alice Network, and it's post World War II in Paris, and the girl is buying some clothes at this secondhand shop, and the shopkeeper says to her, "You are dressed like Dior, and you were meant for Chanel." And I was like, I don't really know the difference between those two. I would have to Google that. I don't know.
That's a great line. That's hilarious.
That's a good line.
Yeah, it's a great line.
I want to say, like, even with the teenagers today, my kids are on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, and they're always talking about like cottagecore and all these different types of ways that teenagers dress and define themselves by, and I find that so fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'll have to ask about that. I didn't know what cottage. Do you know what that is, Allison? Do you hear about that hanging out middle schoolers?
It's like my oldest, like Ellie in a prairie dress running through a meadow.
Oh, okay.
Yes, cottage dress.
Okay. Yeah, we're all,
there we go.
All right. So we got to stay on topic here, girls. Are you ready?
Okay,
all right. Allison and I came up with a great question that we want to ask the viewers, and it is this. Okay. So obviously, Allison's book is about a seamstress. I'm gonna get her to tell us just a little tiny bit about it. Kristy's reminding us that she wore that dress to hold a chicken. So did Kim. But what we want to know is, do any of you sew? And if you do, who taught you how? Because I sort of learned from my grandmother and have not kept up my habit. So, I mean, I can sew on a button if I need to, but that's about it. So do you sew? And if you do, who taught you how? And then while people are answering that question for us, let's first ask Kim, do you sew?
I sew a little bit. I took lessons in middle school because I was cool like that. I thought at the time I thought it was cool. It was not cool. But I can sew a little bit. I hate sewing. It just frustrates me. But I can use a pattern and make doll clothes. But I only do it for those I truly love. So basically, my kids.
Okay.
I cannot sew at all. I took a sewing class. Also, it's the only class I ever failed because I could not make an apron and a pillow. Those were the two projects. So so in seamstress, I have this character who's defined by her ability to sew, and it's like I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off. And I had a part in the story where she had to have this garment that she could wear as pants, but could transform into a skirt, because that was her like little gift, was she could transform clothes. And I had a student who was she's an award-winning cosplayer, and
cool.
I don't know if I've ever said that word out loud, so I hope I
said it right. I think you said it right.
But anyway, I just sat down with her and she just sat with me for hours and just told me how everything would work and how this would work and that would work. And so thank you, Alyssa, if you watch this, because she just saved that book for me.
That's amazing. I love that you have a
student. That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so great. And I know what you mean about writing about something you don't know. I'm currently writing a book in which the main character is has this gift for music, and I have no gift for music at all.
I love books where I learn about things. I think my favorite author for that is Tracy Chevalier, and she has a book called A Single Thread that's about the women it was in between World War I and II is where the book takes place. But the women who embroider all of the cushions for the big cathedrals, and they do these.
Cool.
It is such a good. It's a
Wow.
fantastic book. But I love a book where you learn about another art too. So there's a book recommendation: Tracy Chevalier, Single Thread.
You never have enough. Kristy said people were asking us about the $50. $50 is the Baker Book House threshold for free shipping. Shipping of spending $50. We're just trying to help you get there. We get no feedback from this whatsoever.
None at all.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. Well, Allison, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. This has been so much fun. I think
Thanks, Allison.
And congratulations. I cannot wait to read. I did not get it an advance copy, but I'm telling you it's on its way. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having me. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It was fun.
Bye, Allison. So next week on Her Novel Collective, I may have to see if Allison's available. Maybe we can continue this conversation over there. That would be really fun.
The time feels very short.
I know.
It goes too quickly.
I know. We told people they could hang out and we bring them back at the end. All right. But we wanted to take a few minutes, Kim, and we wanted to be able to really deep dive on A Tapestry of Light. Okay. So I am just going to take a 2-second little reading of the back cover copy here, people, in case you still don't know what this book's about. In 1886 Calcutta, Audley Russell is adrift between two cultures, British and Indian, belonging to both and neither. In order to support her little brother Thaddeus and her grandmother, she relies upon the skills in beetle wing embroidery that have been passed down to her through generations of Indian women. And I think we've got a picture of that maybe Kristy's going to put up at some point. When a stranger named Everett Scott appears with the news that Thaddeus is now Baron Sunderson and must travel to England to take his place as a nobleman, Audley is shattered by the secrets that come to light. Despite her growing friendship with Everett, friend to Audley's English grandmother and aunt, she refuses to give up her brother. Then tragedy strikes, and she is forced to make a decision that will take Thaddeus far from death and herself far from home. But betrayal and loss lurk in England too, and soon Audley must fight to ensure Thaddeus doesn't forget who he is, as well as find a way to stitch a place for herself in a cold, foreign land. I feel like I should go, dun, dun, dun. So
I don't write the back cover copy, but they do a great job.
They do an excellent job. I love the stitch a place for herself.
I know.
So it's so beautiful. All right, so I'm hoping that Kristy is paying attention. Number one, because I know she is, but that she'll put up a picture of that beetle wing embroidery so we can talk about that.
Yeah, beautiful.
But I want you to tell the viewers. Oh, there it is. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. That's
actually the exact piece that inspired this book.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that, because I know that this was a book that it wasn't like you sat with this book for years and years.
Right.
You actually, when you were first contacted by Bethany House, they said they wanted Mosaic of Wings, and they asked you, could you possibly go ahead and do 3 books all set in India? And then you and I and Kristy and a couple of our friends, we all hopped on a call together and we said, let's make this happen. And we did some brainstorming, and none of us knew what you were talking about.
Nope, you don't usually anyway.
That's true. But so tell us about how this inspired the story.
Yeah, so my husband and I went to the Cincinnati Museum Center was having an exhibit on Indian fabrics, which sounds so really focused, but there you have it. It was a fantastic exhibit. It had just the most beautiful fabrics and clothing. And India's fabrics are just stunning. You know, they embroider with all sorts of things like little mirrors and so vibrant, and the silks. It's just gorgeous, right? So we walked into this one room that had an exhibit behind a mirror, and it was a piece of ruffle, white linen ruffle, and the linen part was kind of moth-eaten and old and stained. It was a couple hundred years old, but the beetle wings that it was embroidered with were still so vibrant. I actually have some right here with me. I'm going to show you guys. But
while I'm telling the story, I need to know if you have ever heard of beetle wing embroidery. If you know about this,
And so they're really cool. They're actually not the wings. They're the elytra. They protect the wings. A lot of people, they don't fly with these. These kind of sit over the wings like this and protect them while they're resting. So, but they're flexible. They're like nails, right? They're like keratin or something. And they've been embroidering with them for hundreds, if not longer, years in India. So it's a real handy craft. And I just thought it was so beautiful, like that piece of embroidery. And it really fascinated me because around this time, so I lived like the late Victorian Gilded Age era, but around this time, people were using like all sorts of crazy things to put on their outfits. Like they would like attach like little golden chains to like beetles, and they would like run around their busts. And they stuff whole birds on top of their head, like crazy stuff, right? So I was like, this is like the least offensive way of wearing an animal. So I'm going to do something with that.
Wow. So tell us, okay. All right. So in the book, Ottilie, this is Ottilie's very special skill. But Ottilie, even though she's so incredibly talented, and even though she just loves her brother with all her heart and her family, and she, no matter what she does, you know, there's no way she can keep them all together. But you really let her wrestle with some doubt. And I think a lot of people shy away from admitting, you know, doubting their faith or doubting their place in the world. But you really let Ottilie deal with that. And do you want to talk a little bit about that and what it was like to write that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm like a super plotter. I plot everything, but I don't plot my characters' spiritual arcs. So I want them to be really authentic and true to the story and the character. So that's why some of my books have much lighter spiritual arcs, and then others like this one have a heavier spiritual arc. And so when I started writing this, I had no idea that Ottilie was going to struggle with doubt. But it had, you know, it came out probably after a decade of my own dismantling and rebuilding of my own faith. And I've struggled with doubt since I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And it came out of nowhere, I don't even know where it came from. I don't know if it was like, I was just after my daughter was born. Maybe it was the pregnancy hormones. I don't know what triggered it, but I've never felt like that before because I was raised in a Christian home. So I really poured, once this thread came out, once this subplot came out, I really poured a lot of my own struggle with my faith into Ottilie's story.
And I think what you said about it being authentic is so true, because you just really feel her wrestling with wanting to know, not, you know, is there a man in this world who could love her, but does the God of the universe love her? And I think it's,
and it's even real.
Yes. Is he even real? And I think it is just, you handle it so well, and you carry it through the story so well. And it never feels like, I never felt hopeless. And I love, you know, I like that about, cause you write some heavy, you know, Kim writes heavy stuff. She writes, you know, hard things, but there always is this thread of hope that just is stitched through your story, like the embroidery. And it's just, really
and there always will be. There always will be. Oh, Patrice knows about beetle-wing embroidery.
That's amazing.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I pitched a book to my editor, and she was like, I just have to know, like, does it end with hope? Like, all my books will end with hope. Every single one of them. I promise.
Yes. They may not tie up with a bow, but they will end very beautifully.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to be welcoming another guest in shortly. But Kim, before we do that, tell people where they can find you online, and also tell them where they can find a copy of A Tapestry of Light, as well as Mosaic of Wings. So, here's a question I'm sure people are wondering about. Do you have to read A Mosaic of Wings to read A Tapestry of Light? Are they connected at all?
No, the only thing that connects them is the setting. They're both set partially in India. So they're not a series. They're all standalone. So you don't have to read. I mean, I hope you do read both of them, but you don't have to.
I had a really good time reading them and then comparing your characters, because Nora is so incredibly different from Ottilie. Like,
they are.
One day I want you to like put Nora and Ottilie, and you all have not yet met Gussie from Every Word Unsaid, but you will. I want you to put them all at a table together, and I would like to just see what happens.
Okay. They're all very strong characters, though, so who knows?
They are incredibly strong characters. Yes. And just so incredibly different with the choices that they make. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so where can you find me?
Where can you find
answer that question? Yeah, you can find me on my website, KimberlyDuffy.com, which my husband designed and is beautiful.
It is.
And it's the benefit of having a husband who works in IT, is that I never have to do anything with IT. And you can find me on Facebook at author Kimberly Duffy. I'm not as active on Facebook as I am on Instagram. So if you really want to touch base and get updated and stuff, go on Instagram, which is also author Kimberly Duffy.
And also on Instagram, you can see her really pretty pictures of her clothing and her books.
Yeah, you can see my clothing.
And India. Lots of pretty pictures of India. Okay. So before we bring in our next guest, though, I do want to, one more thing, Kim, one more background thing in case people don't know this. And I think you might have said it earlier, but let's just say it again. What began your love affair with India?
So actually it was Amy Carmichael. Well, there's a few scenes at the beginning of The Secret Garden set in India, right? And everybody like dies of cholera and in this book, right?
Yeah.
That might have influenced A Tapestry of Light a little bit. And so that kind of first got me interested. I was 10 when I read it. And I always thought, wow, like that sounds like such a cool place. And then I read some of Amy Carmichael's books, and I was kind of going through a season where I was in my mid-teens, and I was recognizing that there was real injustice in the world. I lived in a kind of bubble before that I didn't know, and I hadn't realized. And so I started kind of researching a little bit. This was before the internet, so it was a long process. But realizing that sex trafficking was still a thing all across the world, not just in India, but in the United States too. And that's kind of what triggered my interest in India.
And you went there as a missionary, correct? When you were like 19?
Well, I did nonprofit work there. Yeah.
Yes, nonprofit work.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're ready. Oh, let's see what this is. I always say I don't need a happy ending, but I do need a hopeful ending. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I love what Jenny says. At a similar period of time when I wasn't sure if there really was a God, but it is the most important question. I'm so glad God showed me he was real. That is fantastic.
Yeah. And, I always said, I have a friend who kind of struggles with her faith a lot too. And we would talk, and I always said to her, I might struggle now with doubt in my faith now, but when I come to the end of this, like when I feel inside of me that God is real and right and true and just, like, I feel like he's going to do something with my faith, because it'll have gone through the fire. Like it's a heated faith. It's a faith that's been tested.
Yes.
And so I don't regret any moment of that.
I love that. All right. Well, we are ready to welcome Laura Frantz to the.
Hi, Laura.
Here.
Hey, wonderful to be here. It's such a wonderful party.
We're having fun.
So this is the first time I have ever officially met Laura Frantz. It's so nice to meet you.
Lindsay, you're the hostess with the mostest. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. So Laura is the author of The Lace Maker. That's her most recent book. Actually, Tidewater Brides is coming out soon or about to be out.
Actually, it was out in January. And as people probably, or maybe not know, that authors are often 3 books ahead of the reader. So I'm way in another setting and with different characters, and that's okay. But I'd love to, Tidewater Bride just came out. Some of you have read it. Say it's my wittiest heroine to date. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sweet. I love that. Well, like Kristi, Laura had a strong influence on Kim and her writing. So Kim, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of speak to that, because I remember vividly one of our early conversations was you just gushing about Laura Frantz and how much you loved her book.
Yeah. So I might cry. I love Laura Frantz.
Mutual gosh.
I don't cry very much, but I feel the tears coming on. But yeah, I discovered Laura's books later. Like I didn't realize Laura was a person until I met her at the Reader's Retreat in Ohio a few years ago. And I saw the list. This was before I had a contract, I think it was before I had an agent. It was before I had an agent. Mm-hmm. And so I saw the list of authors who were going to be there, and I bought one of each of their books. And I just I picked Moonbow Night, right? Because it's not far from us in Kentucky, and I've always been fascinated. Like, I always wanted to see the Moonbow, right? We haven't been able to go yet, but so I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll buy this one. So I bought it. I met Laura, and I'm like, she's so nice. And she signed it for me. And then I went home and I read it, and I was like, oh, and then I bought all her books and read all her books. And then I got a contract and stuff, but I really feel like Laura's writing, like, just the way she puts you in a setting. Like, I love books that sweep me away, and Laura's books sweep me away. And so I'm not ashamed to say that Laura has influenced my writing. Like, I hope that my books sweep you in the way Laura's books do.
They do. You handle settings so beautifully. It's one thing to write about a setting, but it's an immersive experience with your books. And I think I had a heart for you because, some people you just like at first meeting, and I just loved you at first meeting. Oh. And we had a mutual love or interest in India. I've not been there, sadly. It's been a dream of mine for many years to go. So when I opened Kim's first novel, I thought, the Lord's giving me a gift. I get to go to India. And I really felt like I had been there. I'm not exaggerating. You just handle it so beautifully and realistically, and you don't sugarcoat it. I mean, you just get a taste of, what it is like. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
That is so sweet. Well, Kim, I did actually tell someone today that it will sweep you away to India. So I think Laura's influence on you has been a wonderful thing.
I'm so honored. Thank you. And it's mutual because I'm always learning things. I look at these up and coming authors like Kim, and I'm just blown away because they, Kim is just, I think, kind of out of her league. And she has, I know, it's like I said, I think I embarrassed her. It's, this book is like a soul feast. I mean, you try to write an endorsement on the book, and it's very hard. But so thank you for writing beautiful books.
Well, thank you for writing beautiful books too, Laura. So The Lace Maker. Now, is this the book that's Revolutionary War? I feel like we had one.
It is. It's Revolutionary War. I think it was a couple of books ago, and I enjoyed it very much. It was actually a book that I had started about 10 years ago, and then I threw it in the drawer, and I thought, I wrote half of it. And then Revell, my wonderful publisher, said, we want you to write a series, which became the Ballantine Legacy, my only series. I'm a standalone kind of girl. But so that sparked my Revolutionary War love. But, a lot of my books are on the frontier. So I say I veer back and forth on and off the frontier. So thank you, readers, for putting up with that.
It's so fun watching you two fangirl over each other. I love it. All right.
Well, I love The Lace Maker because it's set in one of my favorite places, which is Williamsburg, and my family loves going to Colonial Williamsburg. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Again, it's getting wonderful. A $50 Baker book house.
Oh yeah. Can I put in a plug for our fashion? I tried to dress and color coordinate with this lovely cover, but I can't quite match the blue. But I tried. Right?
It's so beautiful. Speaking of fashion, Laura's question for both the viewers and for Kim was, what is your favorite fashion era and why? So I know some of you are like Lindsay Brackett, and you're going, my favorite fashion era is what is ever hanging in my closet at the moment. But some of you put thought into this. So
can I jump in and tell you two fun things about colonial era fashion that you may or you may not know. And one of the things about colonial era is that people didn't wear any underwear. And I think that's hilarious. And, when I once read a book set in colonial America in which the author kept talking about the heroine was wearing bloomers. And I'm like, no.
Different era.
They had plenty of underpinnings, plenty of petticoats, the shift, the garters and the stockings and things like that. Nobody would know that they didn't wear underwear, but that was a kind of a much later invention as we moved out of the colonial era. Another thing that I think is fascinating about colonial era fashion, and I'm no expert, but I'm pretty like a dog with a bone when I research, so I try to get my dress details right. But stays. I wear a lot of historical fashion. I feel like I need to dress. No, I don't go outside in it a lot. Although I did wear it to a retreat in Nashville once, but anyway, before you dismiss stays and jumps, which was the precursor for corsets, you probably should wear one, because let me tell you, stays and jumps get a bad rap. They're actually quite comfortable. They're very supportive on my back, and I think other reenactors could say the same. And they also give you that lovely posture and that form and silhouette that was so admired in the colonial era. And I was sad to see fade into the hoop skirts and the Regency attire, but you might be fans of that. I love that fashion in the colonial era the best, but just a couple of fun things about fashion that you may or may not know.
I love that you just made a case for stays. And like, I'm totally buying it. I'm thinking that sounds better than Spanx. Like,
I know Spanx. We can retire Spanx. It stays or jumps, baby.
let's go. All right, stays. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out. Oh, Kim's daughter, 1920s fashion is one of her
That's
favorites.
my girl. Yeah.
So Kim, what about you? What's your favorite era in fashion?
I can admire a lot of different things about a lot of different eras, but my favorite, I think, is Edwardian. I think that it's a super elegant look. I love the risks that designers were taking with their clothing then. And there's just, the fabrics are beautiful. They came out with new, fabrics and colors, like dyes. And so I really love the Edwardian. In fact, if I could like dress that way and make a resurgence of Edwardian style clothing, I would be thrilled.
Well,
it is beautiful. And so all the Downton fans will agree that first couple of seasons, they nailed the costuming in Downton Abbey. I was sad when we moved into the Roaring 20s or whatever, because they left a lot of that elegance and beauty behind. That's my second favorite fashion era after colonial. Yeah.
This is why I love that dress that Kate Winslet wears in Titanic so much. The sparkly one. Is that Edwardian in 1912? Is that what we're in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. I love that particular era. Mm-hmm. All right. So there. Now I know. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us tonight so you could talk about The Lace Maker and Kim's book, Tapestry of Light. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor. You make it so fun and easy. Thank you both.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
So we are going to we're going to fast forward through history. We're going to go from our Frontier Times with Laura all the way to the 1950s, which several people were naming as their favorite era in fashion. We're going to speed forward to the 1950s, and I think we're going to be contemporary too. I'm not 100% certain on that. But we are going to welcome Ashley Clark into the studio. Hey, Ashley!
Hi, Ashley.
So I'm so excited to have Ashley here because Ashley's book is right up my alley. Southern Fiction, The Dress Shop on King Street. King Street is like the place to shop if you are in Charleston. I love low country fiction. I write low country fiction. So I am here for this conversation with Ashley and Kim, and we are going to talk about not only the dress shop on King Street and A Tapestry of Light. We are also going to talk about what it's like to write women who have often been marginalized. But before we get to all that heavy stuff, here's a question to prep either of you for. Okay. So do you guys remember the first time you met?
Oh yeah. Kim, do you remember this? I have a story about this actually, but before I do you know what I'm going to say?
The shoes. Yes, I do.
So Kim and I had both attended ACFW for years and years, right? Because we both had a very long journey to publication. Mm-hmm. And I was walking to a workshop. I don't even remember where I was going, just that I was walking. And this girl I don't know stops me and is like, oh my goodness, I love your shoes. And so thank you, because I have a thing for vintage shoes. I love vintage shoes. So it's not surprising for people to kind of stop me because I'm always wearing like very eclectic footwear. So
she can because she has little feet, but my feet are too big for vintage shoes. I don't get that privilege.
That is not true. So she stops me, but then the part that stands out in my memory is she goes, "You can tell a lot about a person by their shoes." And
that is a classic. Yeah,
I feel like I can already tell you would be a good person because I make a lot of judgments about people based on this. And I was like, I feel like I would either be like best friends with this person or like, she's crazy. And it turned out we were destined to be like best buddies. Who knew, the power of foods.
No, shoes are a powerful thing. I have, in fact, been to a conference with Kim where she has had me wear her shoes because she likes them.
I made her wear my shoes.
I love it.
There's someone here who is watching. Her name is Cassie. She's one of my best friends, and I met her. We went on a trip to India together, and she had the ugliest sandals, and I just could not help but mock them the entire time. I was like, "Why are you wearing those? You're such a cute girl. Why are you
Did you tell her that to her face? Poor thing.
Oh, yes. She loves me. She's okay.
Ashley, this brings up a great point that I wanted to address with you and I here in the room talking to Kim. Kim often tells me she does not get our Southernisms. Like
I was going to say,
yeah,
I was going to say my
shoes are ugly. She's going to tell you because out of love, she thinks you need, Kim knows that there are shoes out there that are going to make you your best self. Southern girls, though, are like, those are real nice. That's what we say.
You have to learn the subtext, You got to read it just like you would if it were a description. You got to read between the lines.
You got to read between the lines.
Honestly, I find it a relief that I never have to worry that you're secretly thinking that my shoes are horrible. You're just going to
You don't have to worry that I'm secretly thinking anything because I'll tell you straight up.
Which is what we love about you so much. First. Me too, actually. The power of Zoom.
I love it.
Zoom, but that is so fantastic. Well, kind of on a serious note, you both have written books that are really timely in terms of thinking about, the term racial reconciliation has come up a lot in the country lately. Mm-hmm. And you both write books about women who fall into that very marginalized category. And I wondered how you were able to wrestle with those. Like, how did you help these women in your stories find their identity? Or did you have a particular, like Kim's touched on it a little bit with Ottilie, Ashley, but tell us a little bit about your book and what readers can expect if they pick up both The Tapestry of Light and The Dressmaker on King Street.
Right. What was so interesting is Kim and I didn't realize that we had written fairly similar characters, really. And we got talking about our books as she was finishing up this one, Tapestry. And we were like, oh my goodness, our characters would be best friends, I think. So for me, with Dress Shop, what's at stake there is my historical heroine, which is around 1940s to 1960s for the bulk of it, but it does skip forward a little bit more at the end. Is biracial, and she has a very nuanced family history with regard to that and all of the trauma that's really been invoked upon her family. And so she makes the gut-wrenching decision to pass as white for her physical safety, as well as for the opportunities that will allow her. It wasn't until later that I realized a lot of people don't know that that's a thing. But if you live in the South, you probably do. It was not uncommon for people to be in a position where they had to choose. And I think you could make the argument to some extent, people still do have to choose one sort of like half of their identity. But back then they literally did. If you were biracial, you had to kind of pick, am I going to pretend that I'm fully white or how am I going to reconcile this? Right. So for Millie, I knew that some of this trauma was in her family history, but I actually was like really nervous to work through that because I've never been a minority and I don't want to speak for voices outside of my own experience in any way that might be insensitive. But as I began, I really felt like I met Millie, I guess is what I'm trying to say, rather than creating her. And as I began to really work through her story, I realized that she was just sort of coming alive before me and that the only way to do justice to her struggle was to delve into it. And so for Millie, ultimately, she feels as though through a good portion of the book, she has to pick between sort of two selves, two identities or two sides. And she ultimately comes to the place where she realizes that she doesn't. Like she's whole, first of all, like she's one whole person, but she also has two whole heritage lines that go before her as well. And it's not that anything is split or it's that anything has to be reconciled in the sense that we often associate it with. It's more so that she has to learn how, and society has to learn how to embrace all of the nuances, both traumatic and otherwise, that play into to who she becomes. And I think in that way, there are a lot of similarities with Tapestry, with the multicultural element. And I think that's a reality for a lot of people as well, to have to kind of figure out where do I fit and how will others perceive me as well becomes a relevant question too.
And I think so many people lots of times we'll pick up a book that's set in a very different culture and we'll think this is going to be such an escape. And then people are always surprised by how much they identify with those core characteristics of that character, with the things that make us all human. They are the same no matter the color of your skin. And so I think you both have done a beautiful job of just capturing that within your stories and the identities of these two women.
And I want to say a lot of the same things happen during the time, like the British Raj in India. So when these Anglo-Indian families, they would send the children who looked British, they would send them to England to be educated, and they would pass as British. Yeah. And the children who looked more Indian would stay and be like educated in India, and they had completely disparate lives, like completely different. And so oddly, she can't pass away, but she has to struggle with the fact that her brother is. And that's a huge struggle for her because she has a lot of bitterness toward what the British have done to her family and her country.
And you really just, both of you handle these stories. You handle it so well. You take this really heavy theme and you place it in a story that is just so readable and relatable and beautiful and just well done. Now, before we end our time, it's so wonderful having this time with Ashley. Oh my gosh. Before we end our time with Ashley, I love the question she sent. Is there a type of fashion that is unique to the area where you live? I mean, Kim does live in Ohio, so sometimes like a heavy coat is
like sweatpants. And
this is going to be your payback for all those shoe insults.
It is.
I've never insulted your shoes.
But I love that Ashley points out in the South, we love our pearls.
We do.
We do. We love our pearls. So if there is something that's unique to the area you live, we want to hear about it in the comments. And you might have a chance to win the dress shop on King Street. So what do you think?
My children and I, so I'm not from Ohio, I'm from New York, where we just tend to dress, we dress up a little bit more, And I remember the first time I went to a funeral here, people were wearing jeans and I was absolutely horrified. I could not believe it.
That's really bad. That would be very bad.
Yeah. So I tend to, as a whole, my family tends to dress up more than most people in our area. And my children are so judgmental. They'll like walk into a store and be like, I can't believe that person's wearing that in public. Absolutely my fault.
Kim was at my house this summer and we were going to go hiking. Up the stairs comes one of her daughters and she's like in a dress. We were like, this is not going to work.
Yes. Yep. She does wear dresses while she's hiking.
Leslie,
I love it.
Yes, the puppy.
That would be.
Cowboy. See, jeans are acceptable in Texas. I feel like in Texas, jeans are like classy. Like you can make them classy with your boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Put some buttons on the top half of yourself and you're fine.
Yes.
Button down shirt, just get some buttons in there somewhere.
It's perfect. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you guys. This has been so much fun.
Bye. All right. We are coming up on our last guest of the evening. Oh, it makes me sad.
I know, me too.
I know. We'll have to see if anybody's still hanging out in the broadcast studio. We're going to bring them all back. So our next guest, our last guest, we are excited to be like bring in this energy here at the end of our show. But we are so excited to welcome Jen Turano to the Rough Draft Life studio.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
No pressure for the energy thing, but okay.
I know you got it, Jen. I know you do. So just like I met Kristy Cambron at an ACFW, I first met Jen Turano at an ACFW that I was at with Kim. And you were so fun and so gracious. And I'm so excited to have this time with you here tonight so that we can talk about our shared friend, our shared love of Kimberly Duffy.
Yes. Who I actually went and changed my shoes just on the off chance that she would ask to see.
You never know.
Jen always looks
wearing
wonderful.
Blowfish. They almost look like Converse sneakers, right? And I'm like, oh, gosh, she'll really get on me about those. So,
yeah,
everyone, I changed my shoes.
Oh, she's going to show them to us. I'm excited.
Oh, nice. I love them.
Oh, those are
fancy. Uh-huh. I've had heels on forever, but okay, there we go.
So before we start talking, though, I promised a friend I would do something. My friend Stephanie Gammon is sick today, and I made her get online and watch us. And she said she would only do that if I told Jen Turano that she's a huge fan of yours. And I introduced her to your book, so I do want credit for that. But she absolutely loves your books.
And her name is Stephanie.
Stephanie Gammon. Yep, she's another writer.
Yes, she's another writer too. Yeah.
Stephanie, I hope you feel better. And thank you so much for tuning in to see me. Hope I don't disappoint.
No, Jen would never disappoint. All right. So, Jen.
Yes.
First of all, I love your earrings. They are sparkly.
They're pretty.
Perfect. She's bringing the bling tonight. I love it.
Betsy Johnson. Retail therapy. It's been my thing over COVID. I go and wander around stores to like find my piece, and I might get one with these.
Hey, I like it. Worked out really well for you.
Yeah. And I got a seaweed mask not too long ago. Not going to recommend it. It said to only put it on your face for 20 minutes. And I read the directions. And so I did. I put it on for 20 minutes and I fell asleep and I woke up at midnight. And it hardened to like the consistency of cement. So midnight, I'm in the shower because I tried to like just wash it off, and I'm trying not to wake up Al. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to get in the shower. So I get in the shower. Of course, he thinks something's wrong. Like he comes running in, and so I like look out of the shower, and it's just like globs of stuff coming down my face. I'm like, bit of a problem. Seaweed mask, don't recommend it. He just like went back to bed. Like he didn't even say anything. He's like, just left me, and I'm like, I used a little help. I mean, it was bad, but. There you go.
Well,
COVID.
Seaweed masks and cute shoes aside, you and Kim also, you apparently have a shared love of, I believe it's prairie dresses and chicken. Is this true? I think there's photographic evidence.
Oh, do we have evidence?
There's photograph. I mean, Kristi can probably pull up a picture and throw it up here before long if we give her long enough. I don't know, but I know that you two and Kristi Ann Hunter and then several other authors took the Target dress challenge. Oh, she's magical. There will be a picture.
We did, and you know, it was funny because I saw the meme on Facebook, right? And I was like, well, I just have to do it. So then I put a thing out there asking if anybody had chickens. And the next thing you know, Kim's like, we have to get authors and do this. So then it was like I couldn't back out. And it was like, okay. So that's the reason. And the cool thing is, one of my readers knows the woman who did the original meme. And so now I'm Facebook friends with her. And she got like interviewed with Forbes and everything. Like, I'm like, what a small world. Oh, she's hilarious. But
that is such a small world.
Yeah. Wow. So we don't like chickens. Like Kim doesn't like them either, do you?
I don't like chickens at all.
No chickens. No chickens.
No. And like I can try to see without these on. Let's see if this works.
That's
like, reflection, something's reflecting at me, and I'm like, I can't see. The chicken that I used, well, my friend let me use her like farm, and so she broke her knee, so she couldn't come and help me. But she said, if you want to hold a chicken, you can hold Betty because Betty's friendly. So I said, okay. So she sends her son out, Landon, and I said, no, Landon, honey, I've known him since he was like kindergarten. Now he's a freshman. In high school, and I'm like, your mom said to give me Betty. And he says, okay. So he hands me a chicken and it attacks me. It's on my head. It tore out like my hairdo. And turns out that wasn't Betty. Landon doesn't know the names of the chickens.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it was pretty funny. And he's like, Mom, I didn't know what to do. Mrs. Turano had a chicken on her head. Because he kept saying, like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, if you get the chicken off my head, that would be great. So,
oh my gosh.
Adventure.
The things writers go through in order to market our books to y'all, just sometimes chickens are involved. Well, Jen, tell us a little bit about which book of yours are we highlighting tonight?
Storing Up Trouble.
Storing Up Trouble.
Storing Up Trouble. Can you guys see this?
We can, yeah.
Okay. So this book came out in May, and I liked it for the fashion because Miss Beatrix Waterbury. That's not Betty. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. That chicken is not Betty. Beatrix is an heiress. So this is the American Heiress series. This is the last book in the series, and she goes to Chicago because she's gotten herself in trouble. Like she's with the suffrage movement. So, and she ends up taking a job at Marshall Field and Company. And why Kim wanted me to do the fashion thing with her is because I majored in fashion and I have a love of department stores. So Marshall Field is one of my favorite all-time department stores. And I finally got to put it in this book. So I can't tell you really much more about it because this is about 4 books removed from me. And I'm reading the back cover as we speak.
Authors are always 3 or 4 books ahead. It's true.
Yeah. Mr. Norman Nesbitt. That would be the, he's the hero. Sure. So, yeah, so it's just in Marshall Fields and in the glove department. This was taken from, they did a great job, like just like how they do great jobs with Kim's covers. Her covers are beautiful. This is one of my favorite covers. And so this, behind here, there used to be one of these in the old storage room in this department store I worked in New York. It was called Adam, Meldrum, and Anderson. And you had to go over to this creepy warehouse. And in like the corner, there was an old glove thing. And so I described it to them, and they found one. So there you go.
I love that.
How fun is that?
Kim must be hollering at some child of hers. She just muted
I see
herself.
her.
I love it.
No, my headphones are dying, so I told my daughter to come down here real quick and attach her headphones to my computer.
Fix your headphones. Fix your headphones.
So, okay, you guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
I like how Kim's going to leave us.
I know, like, here I come, and everybody leaves.
Listen, Jen, it's me and you now. We got this under control.
Okay.
So I love that in your, like, she's selling gloves because women still wearing gloves was still a thing in that era.
Yes.
Just much like it's a thing. I know in Kim's book, A Tapestry of Light, is one of those issues of you know, you're supposed to wear gloves for certain events and certain occasions and certain times. And nowadays, I only wear gloves if my fingers are cold, which is often actually in the wintertime. But I kind of wish that would come back a little bit because they're so elegant looking. And also, let's just face it, if I was wearing gloves all the time, I would not have to worry about all the hand sanitizer.
Exactly. And so a little fun tidbit that I didn't realize is that the very wealthy, they would go through up to 7 pairs of gloves a day. So they would buy them and they would discard them. And they were expensive gloves at the time. Well, they were like, is that a pink headphone?
Yeah, what's going on? Kim, we're not approving of your headphone fashion choice.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you know, they belong to a 16-year-old. So.
But you know what? No, those are cool. Like, I wanted to get beads that were pink, but the beads that were pink were like $70 more than the army green ones. So now I have army green. But there you go. So
there we go. I can hear you now.
Can you hear?
Headphones, Kim.
Those are great.
I love it.
We match my shirt.
Jen was telling us how the wealthy women went through like 7 pairs of gloves a day.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say real quick, Storing Up Trouble is my favorite Jen Turano book. I love it. I love the hero in that book.
Really?
Yeah, I love
that
it.
hero would be Norman Nesbitt.
I think he's adorable.
Well, you know, he's kind of got he's not autistic, but he's kind of on like the spectrum, you know?
Yeah, he's darling.
He was like a Sheldon Cooper, but I couldn't make him like Sheldon Cooper. I started to write him like that. And I was like, oh, that's just not going to work. So he had to change.
So he just became a little quirky.
Yeah, he was a little quirky, not like
quirky.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, okay. So girls.
Yes.
We've got Jen who's writing this really like kind of light, fun story about a woman selling gloves in the department store. You've got Kim's story about a biracial woman who's trying to find her place in the world between India and England. And so I think at first glance, people might be like, do those books really have anything in common? But they do. And I will tell you what it is. Both of you, I'll tell you. Both of you write heroines who are not afraid to borrow Jen's title, stir up a little bit of trouble. Uh-huh. Like, while Audley does not love a confrontation, at the same time, she is not letting these people just whisk her brother off to England without her, you know, and she's not letting them just send him on to boarding school without her having a say in it. Mm-hmm. And then Jen's describing her heroine to us, and she mentions, well, she got in some trouble because, you know, she's part of the suffragette movement. Yeah, they threw people in jail for that.
They did, yes.
More than a little bit of trouble. And so I love that you are both not afraid to look back at history and recognize, you know, so I think so often people are like, oh, back in the days when all women could do was get married and have babies. Well, yes, women did do that, but they also did really amazing things in addition to having babies and getting married.
And doing it beneath a system that didn't really make room for them to do it.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, Jen, do you have anything else you want to share with us tonight about maybe the first time you remember meeting Kimberly Duffy? Did she call out your shoes?
You know, I don't think she called out my shoes, but we met at a conference, and I think it was right before We were going to some.
No, I don't think you remember the first time we met. We met for the first time. I remember you. I don't think you remember. We met at the same conference. I met Lindsay and Kristy Cambron, and I was in a room, and it was ACFW, and I saw you walk by, and I said, "That's Jen Turano." And I was with a friend, Ben, and he's like, "Well, go say hi." I'm like, "I can't say hi to Jen Turano," and he's like, "Go say hi." And I ran after you in the hallway, and I said, Jen Turano," and you're like, "Hi," and we talked, and you said, "Do you want a book?" And you pulled a book out of your bag, and you handed me a book.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first time we met. But then after that, we met at the Reader's Retreat.
Okay. Well, no, I do remember that, but I remember talking to you outside. I had to go into like a room. I think that was the Finding Margot thing. I had to go in.
Yes. Yeah, we did talk then.
Okay. All right. See? All right.
She remembers.
Okay.
She
Glad it
remembers.
was a good meeting. Like, I'm glad you didn't run after me. I was
You had those ugly shoes. No.
Whoa, what shoes are you wearing? Let me see those shoes. Yeah, I would have been like, give me that book back.
Let me pass judgment on who you are as a person based on your shoes.
Never be able to say that to Jen because Jen majored in fashion and she is a fashionista. So Jen, before we close down for the evening, I want to know so you are someone who's actually like studied fashion. So do you have a particular favorite era? Do you have a particular time that you feel like women were really beginning to own their own choices in terms of how we dressed? Like give us little fashion tips here.
You know, my favorite, I love the Gilded Age because that's where I write. You know what I mean? But it was so restrictive. I mean, right now I'm in 1886 and like the bustle size, they didn't stay that large for very long. I mean, they had bustles, but these are these are huge. These are like wearing a barrow on your behind. And the more research I do into it, and they hurt women. I mean, they would get jabbed with the stays, and they would, and it just put up so much. I mean, you would be off balance. I mean, that's crazy. And then I was gonna show everybody this book. It's called Unmentionables. It's kind of got a little risque cover, so I was gonna brown paper it up, but it's in my my writing shed. We had a blizzard. I can't get to my shed because I have to shovel the backyard. I don't have it in me. So I'm like, I really wanted to show them that. But if anybody wants to, it's called Unmentionables. It's a fascinating book. But I mean, the things that they did to their bodies. I mean, it ruined your organs, you know. And I actually made a corset in one of my design classes. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a great seamstress, so it was going to hurt me anyways. Things were poking out, a little sharp, whalebone was bad, but yeah. So, but I think my favorite, I actually like the 70s. I just love the cool vibe, you know. I have again, my COVID shopping, I have just bought these super cool, almost famous glasses, like the huge round blue frames, and I was just like, walked out of the room. I love the 70s vibe, and I'm an 80s girl too, so I do like the 80s. I used to wear the big bows. Do you guys remember the jams? You guys are probably too young. The jams were like floral, like shorts, and you wore like really big sweatshirts with them, and then you had to match your flats with the colors in your shorts. So, okay, I'm old. I'm just going to be quiet now, but
I remember the 80s.
I remember the 80s. I was little, but I remember the 80s.
Somebody said I had jams. Okay, and I was going to do. I told Kim I would just do an extra giveaway. So guys,
giveaway, yay!
Okay, so this is actually my latest book, To Steal a Heart. It came out in November. It's the first one in the Bleecker Street Inquiry Agency, and there actually is a dressmaker in here, Monsieur Philippe Villard. So if you guys want, anybody want to enter to win this, just put down what your favorite department store was. Like I love, all of those, and plus add a congratulations to Kim for her latest release on there too, because it's all about her.
It is all about
me. It's all about Kim. Although I seem to be talking about myself, so sorry about that.
Well, we love it. We have great stories. We love it. All right. So extra contest. What is your favorite department store? I have really good, sweet memories of the Riches department store because my grandmother worked there. And before Riches and Macy's, became one. And you like my hand motions.
I do.
Mostly what I remember is growing up. I didn't grow up in Atlanta, but my grandparents lived outside of Atlanta. And so every year on Thanksgiving, we would have to watch the lighting of the Rich's tree in downtown Atlanta. And they would put the tree up on top of the Rich's store and they would light it up. And it was always a thing. And now, like, there's no thing because Rich's isn't there anymore. And it's so sad.
Now, Kim, you're in Ohio now, right? So I grew up in Ohio, but I grew up in St. Clairsville, which is like across the border from Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah, it's near West Virginia, yeah.
So we had a store called Goods, LL Good and Company, and they used to have a talking Christmas tree. And so, and so someone would be in the tree and then you'd come up and then its mouth would move or whatever. Well, somebody found, like, they misplaced the tree years ago. Well, somebody found the directions, like, I don't know, say 5 years ago, and somebody rebuilt this tree. It is the freakiest looking tree you've ever seen in your life. It's like a lady's thinking, I'm surprised we didn't have nightmares with that. But when I was in high school, I got to be in another tree that was similar that they brought to the mall. And I was the person in there.
Oh my goodness, of course.
That's hilarious.
Of course. So I don't think anyone knows this, but I actually worked at a department store right after high school. I worked at a department store in Pennsylvania called Bon-Ton.
I know the Bon-Ton. I have a box in my closet that still says Bon-Ton on it.
Oh, really?
I do.
Yeah.
Like, what department did you work in?
I worked in men's accessories and then men's and accessories. Yep.
Okay. Well, when I first started, the day I turned 16, I got my first job in retail. And and it was the day after Thanksgiving, and they put me in cosmetics. That was fun. I mean, I love cosmetics, but when you're 16 and all the products in drawers, and it's the day after Christmas, and there was a coupon. Ooh.
This is why we like to joke that we're glad our daughter does not work in a department store. Our 16-year-old daughter, she makes pizza at the Papa John's, and while she does spend some of her proceeds on pizza, if she worked at a department store, she would come up with new clothes every single day.
Yeah.
Well, it does. Did you buy a lot, Kim, when you were like?
Yeah. There was no point in me having a job.
So did your house?
I bought a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I can see that. I used to work in a shoe department too for a brief period of time. But yeah, that's how I ended up being in fashion, just those department stores. So, but
I'm loving seeing all these people drop their favorite department stores. Things
Yes,
I've never heard of. It's so great. Oh, Saks Fifth Avenue in Troy, Michigan had a talking Christmas tree named Maynard.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Target is a department
store. No,
it is for you, Ellie, because we're not made of money.
That is true. Ellie, you might want to go get a job at the Target.
But like, there's some really, like, when I was looking for that prairie dress, there's some pretty cute stuff in Target. Like, you can there is.
The prairie dress was an anomaly. Like they missed with that one, but everything.
I mean, that was so bad. I don't think I held on. Hold on.
Oh, I think Jen's gonna put on her prairie dress, y'all. While she's getting it, there she is. She's got it.
There it is.
Are you ready? For you guys who did not see the prairie dress challenge, we were all wearing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
There it is. Look at it. I mean, it looks kind of like an old couch.
Yeah.
Kim's look better. You put a belt on it. I put a belt on this, and I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean, there was so much fabric. It was.
Just everybody save those for Halloween. We are all going to go as Ma Ingalls.
Yes.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks for coming, Jen.
New release.
Thanks, ladies. It's always fun. Congratulations, Kim.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, Kim, it's been an evening.
Yeah, these are the most uncomfortable headphones I've ever worn.
They're terrible. They like glow. When you put them, they glow. Don't take Kim to Target. You'll leave with 2 extra bags full of clothes. Not that Leslie has experience with that or anything.
No, she doesn't. Right.
No. Ellie, I only buy books. Ellie, don't lie.
That's true.
Your mother knows where you are. So, we're so excited to have all of you hanging out here with us tonight. We hope that you had a great time. We hope that you will share this video with your friends and family and other fashionistas in your life. We hope most of all that you will pick up a copy of A Tapestry of Light. Let's look at it one more time. It's so pretty. There it is, Tapestry of Light. Chris, hold up your book, Kristi.
I'm sorry.
Come on now.
It's like come out from behind the curtain.
A Tapestry of Light. There you go. So once again, you can find this at Baker Bookhouse or anywhere books are sold. We are advertising Baker Bookhouse this evening. You can pick up copies of all of the books we talked about tonight. The Paris Dressmaker by Kristy Cambron. We talked about The Seamstress by Allison Pittman. Oh, thank you. It's very helpful. The Dress Shop on King Street by Ashley Clark. The Lace Maker, Laura Frantz, and Storing Up Trouble by Jen Turano. And of course, every comment that you've entered tonight does enter you to possibly win one of these books, including Kim's debut, A Mosaic of Wings, which released back in the spring. And we're just so happy to be able to go on this journey with you again to India, Kim, to be able to share this story and the beautiful tale of Audley and Thaddeus and Everett. I know. It's just such a wonderful story. And I really hope that all of you have a chance to pick it up and read it. If you enjoy it, please leave Kim a review or tell a friend. You can find her on Instagram, author Kimberly Duffy. You can find her on Facebook, author Kimberly Duffy. You can follow A Rough Draft Life if you want to see what Kristi and I are up to. We're not writing books. We also
a lot of other things too.
Yeah, we also podcast and we do this. We celebrate authors, and we are so excited to be celebrating our friend tonight. Kim, is there anything else we want to tell everybody before we wrap up this evening? Do we have any more comments we need to address? Any questions?
Well, we do have some comments, but I also want to give a shout out just to let anybody know if anyone's looking for where they can find all of the people who are here tonight. This is all their websites, so you can know what to type in so that you can find everybody who's graciously come and hung out with us tonight, because we've had such a fun time.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So I think we have a few more comments. There is just so much going on. People have had a ton of fun tonight, and it's been fun reading the comments. And so Kim, you're going to want to go back and read through these when you're
going to go back and read through these. I tried to keep my eyes off them because I kept wanting to look at them.
I did not click over to the comments tonight, Kristi. Aren't you proud of me?
Yeah. But I would also like to know that Sandy likes my hair.
Your hair does look really great.
It's very cute. It's very cute. Yeah. Yes. Thank you all so much for coming. And if anybody has just a couple minutes here, so if anybody has any burning questions you want Kim to answer, now's your opportunity. Last minute opportunity to ask us anything.
I don't know, but we have Diane is lucky enough that she actually lives by Baker Bookhouse. And she has been flaunting that all night in the comments that she gets to go and get a shopping cart to fill it. And she doesn't have to worry about the $50 limit.
Nice.
You're lucky, Diane.
Yeah, that's fine. Some of us live where it's not cold.
That's true.
You can also buy these books at places other than Baker Bookhouse, but we do know that Baker has a discount on it because it is a Baker book. So that is why we have been sending you guys to Baker Bookhouse. So, but if you buy your books anywhere else, you can get A Tapestry of Light pretty much anywhere you buy books.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you can. And just if you've read it, please leave me a review on Amazon and Goodreads and anywhere you can leave reviews. They really help us out.
Leslie's going with Diane.
Leslie's going with Diane.
I like it.
And they love your shirt, Kim.
Thank you. It's J. Crew.
Yeah, but I think the big question is, what kind of shoes are you wearing?
Please tell me you're wearing slippers. He's wearing real shoes. She's barefoot. Fantastic.
I did have really cute shoes on earlier today, but not right now.
That's fantastic.
Nothing is cuter than the shoes God made.
There you go.
Okay.
That's really is.
All right, Kristi.
It's not. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Once again, find Kimberly on Facebook or Instagram. Find Kristi and I there individually as well, Lindsay P. Brackett, Kristi Ann Hunter, or you can follow us at A Rough Draft Life, where you can keep up with all the times that we party with authors. And we love these virtual gatherings. They're reunions for us, but it is just also so fun to bring readers into this world and give them an opportunity to chat with the authors and hear what goes on behind the scenes of really writing a story. So,
and I think we're gonna when we pick the winners, we're just gonna comment on these posts, right? Is that how we're going to do it? So we'll comment you won this book. Is that right?
Kristi, is that how we're going to do it? Kristi,
I'm just going to give Kim names and let her decide how to do it.
So I'm just going to comment hey, you won this book. So just keep an eye out for my comments, because if you miss it, then we have to pick someone else.
Oh dear.
And we don't want to do that.
I feel a lot of pressure.
Keep an eye on it.
I don't know why I feel like
So pay attention to your notifications.
Pay attention. Yeah.
Pay attention to your notifications. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again.
It's been fun.
Tonight.
It's been fun. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.